Hi, I'm Amber Dean, and this is my personalized learning plan. There are non-essential conditions for personalized learning. Prioritize executive function, authentic and adaptive assessment, dynamic communication, expanded collaboration, mastery dispositions, individual path, growth mindset, flexible content, and learner voice. Of these essential conditions, I have selected 3 within my realm of influence, and they are learner voice, dynamic communication, and authentic and adaptive assessment. So let's take a closer look in detail of these 3 conditions within my realm of influence. The first one is learner voice. Learner voice allows students to take ownership in their learning by voicing their interests, needs, and concerns. The goal I have designed or created to reach this condition is that for every unit, students will have a choice on instruction delivery and some choice on assessment format. The action step to meet this goal is that a student survey will be given at the beginning of each unit to get feedback on how students learn best and what delivery of instruction they would prefer. According to this student data, instruction would be planned. The next essential condition within my realm of influence is dynamic communication. Dynamic communication allows students to be in frequent and flexible communication with the teacher, both informally and formally. The goal for this is that using LMS, which would be Canvas in our case, email, and Remind, students will be provided with various means of ongoing communication with the teacher. Also, face-to-face class time, there will be time scheduled for students to be able to have student conferences with the teacher. The last condition within my realm of influence is authentic and adaptive assessments. Assessments are given frequently and are co-planned with the learner and educator to create a portfolio evidence of mastery. So the goal for this is that students will be provided with choice on how they will show their mastery of learning. An ongoing assessment will be used to drive the co-planning process of learning. This assessment will be both formally and informally, and the key here is that it is ongoing, so that students are provided with authentic and consistent feedback within their learning process. The action step for this is that before starting a new unit, I will provide clear learning objectives and rubrics to students. These learning objectives and rubrics will be used to co-plan with students to help choose their assessment format. The additional action step that I have created is to collaborate with other teachers to develop learning objectives and rubrics and the instructional delivery format that I could use to support personalized learning. There are 2 barriers that overlap within the conditions. The first one is time constraint. It will require time for me to redesign my lessons to be more of a personalized learning format. It will take time to create learning objectives and rubrics for every unit and every assessment. It will also take time to communicate with all of my students frequently and individually. Personalized learning also requires time for students to move at their own pace, which will affect the pacing guide. Now, the readiness to overcome this or to help combat this barrier is to collaborate with teachers to create learning objectives and rubrics. Utilize the assessments that are already out there from teachers that have already been created, and utilize available resources to help support professional learning. So in other words, use teachers to collaborate, use what's already out there, and to modify it to fit personalized learning rather than starting from scratch with every single thing. The other barrier is that this format of learning requires a significant amount of student responsibility. Professional learning requires students to take ownership and move at their own pace. Students must be disciplined to work diligently as to continually make progress. To help combat this barrier, checkpoints would be established to help students stay disciplined and to stay motivated. Also, readdressing student expectations is essential. Not just talking about it at the beginning of the school year, but constantly readdressing what students are expected and what that may look like. The timeline for the action steps. So, in early August, starting with Unit 1, students will complete their learning profile survey on Google Forms and will continue with each unit throughout the school year. So while this starts in early August, this will continue throughout the school year. In mid-August, so you can see at this timeline here, students will be provided with the learning objectives and rubrics at the beginning of each unit. This will continue throughout the school year, and this will be used, the platform for this will be our learning management system of Canvas to help give the platform of delivering these learning objectives and rubrics. Again, this will continue throughout the school year. In mid-August to September, I will collaborate with teachers to design rubrics and instructional formats. So the resources will be these department teachers and also educational online resources such as Edpuzzle and things of that nature. Then in September, I will begin co-planning with students at the start of each module and continue throughout the school year. We will be using the learning objectives and rubrics as a guide to help set goals and assessment formats. And then lastly, starting in October, I will begin allocating 15 to 30 minutes in class for student conferences bi-weekly, and again, this will continue throughout the school year. By starting in October, this allows students to get comfortable, so to speak, of this personalized learning format, in that they are starting to see that they get their student voice and that they get to be the co-planner in this process. They're seeing how we're in constant communication with the teacher. They're seeing how they get the learning objectives prior to learning. So then in October, that's when that process face-to-face will begin. And again, my resources for this are Google Forms, Learning Management System, which would be Canvas, department teachers, and online educational resources.